Judges 2, verse 6, starting when Joshua died. When Joshua had dismissed the people, the sons of Israel went each to his inheritance to possess the land. The people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who survived Joshua, who had seen all the great work of the Lord, which he had done for Israel. Then Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110, and they buried him in the territory of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. All the generations also gathered to their fathers, and there arose another generation after them, who did not know the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. First thing that sticks out there, before we go on, anybody who doesn't know the terminology, when someone says they gathered to their fathers, it means they died. They followed their fathers before them and joined them in the grave, so they died. But the following generation, the generation to come after them, did not know the Lord, nor yet the work which he had done for Israel. That being said, I look at that in today's culture. What does that look like if our generation, for instance, were to die, and the next one did not know about the Lord? Whose fault is that? That's our fault. That is 100% our fault. We can't blame anybody but ourselves, because we have the ability to raise up our kids, and when we're not telling them of God's goodness, when we're not telling them of the things that he has done in our lives or in the lives of those around us, or whatever the case may be, and teaching the Word of God, which has victories, it has promises all throughout Scripture, when we're not relaying those messages of how good our God is and all the things that he has done, that he's worthy to be praised, that we need him for salvation, because we on our own do not have the ability to make it to heaven, because we alone are not righteous. We cannot attain to righteousness. It's only through the blood of Christ. When we do not lead our kids in the way that they should go, in the knowledge and wisdom of the Lord, then a verse like this can be written, that another generation rose up after those of us who passed, and they did not know the Lord, nor yet the work that which he had done in Israel. And you think we'd be proud to tell the stories of God and what he has done in our lives and the lives of those around us, but too often we're too busy to sit down, take 5 minutes, tell a quick story, whatever the case is. Sometimes that's all it takes, 5 minutes, and then boom, someone's life's changed. But not just the next generation, our telling of the Lord to our children, considering they actually listen, heed our instruction, heed the instruction of the Lord, and follow him, that's a generational effect. It doesn't just affect our kids, it affects our grandkids, and if it affects our grandkids, then hopefully it affects our great-grandkids, and so on down the line. So we very well have the potential to completely obliterate the knowledge of the Lord from the face of the earth by not standing up and being the men of God he called us to be, and leading our families, and leading our kids, and leading our grandkids, and in all reality, leading those kids that we do not have access to all the time, whether it be through children ministry, whether it be through our friends' kids, just being godly to them and sharing the gospel with them. I mean, it's all on us. So there's that. We will roll on to the next verses here. Then the sons of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, served the Baals, and they forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods from among the gods of the peoples who were around them, and bowed themselves down to them. Thus they provoked the Lord to anger. I'm going to stop there for a second. One portion of the backstory I didn't mention, which any of us who have been through Judges knows. Israelites, it's a pattern. They would they follow the Lord for a little while, fall off the wagon, get judged, or get a judge put in place. Then they would fall off the wagon and start sinning again. Then they would come back to the Lord, and they would start sinning again, much like our lives. But where the issue started, aside from the one generation not knowing the Lord, they did not drive out all the inhabitants of the land which the Lord gave them. They left remnants, and when you leave remnants, look at it as sin. They left that little bit of sin. They had that one area of their life where they didn't put a blocker in. And since there's a little one there, and I don't know if he's listening, I will keep that simple. But we all know what I'm talking about, putting those blockers in place. You leave one area opened, and that means that your land, the inheritance that God gave you, that purity or whatever the case is, can still be infiltrated. It can still be affected. So that's what was happening here. They left a remnant behind, and they were influenced by their gods, since they were unaware of the Lord their God, the God of their fathers. So that's where we're at. All right, verse 13. So they forsook the Lord and served Baal and the Ashereth, which Ashereth was the, she was the, where was it? She's the goddess of like war and sex and stuff like that, pretty much. I had it down here and lost it, but anyway. So yeah. Any way you look at it, she's not worthy of praise. Verse 14. The anger of the Lord, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he gave them into the hands of plunderers who plundered them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies around them, so they could no longer stand before their enemies. Wherever they went, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had spoken, and the Lord had sworn to them, and they were severely distressed. The Lord raised up judges who delivered them from the hands of those who plundered them, yet they did not listen to their judges, for they played the harlot after other gods, and bowed themselves down to them. They turned aside quickly from the way in which their fathers had walked, in obeying the commandments of the Lord. They did not do as their fathers. Verse 18. When the Lord raised up judges for them, the Lord was with the judges, and delivered them from the hands of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved to pity by their groaning, because of those who oppressed and afflicted them. But it came about, when the judge died, that they would turn back and act more corruptly than their fathers, in following other gods to serve them and bow down to them. They did not abandon their practices or their stubborn ways. So the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant, which I had commanded their fathers, and has not listened to my voice, I also will no longer drive out before them any of the nations which Joshua had left when he died, in order to test Israel by them, whether they will keep the way of the Lord, to walk in it as their fathers did, or not. So the Lord allowed the nations to remain, not driving them out quickly, and he did not give them into the hands of Joshua. Okay, that's all the reading for now. Rehydrate. All right. God, in sinful, in broken, we got two of them now. What's up, bud? In broken situations and broken places, and sinful places, in places of distress. People sometimes may not necessarily know they need help. In this case, the Israelites eventually learned that they needed help, and they cried out, and God put a judge in their midst to lead them, to guide them, to direct them. Men, we are judges. We are judges sent by God to lead those in our sphere of influence, our kids, our wives, our grandkids, if that be the case, the people at work, people at church, even the people at church with leaders all around them sometimes still need led by someone else. Because sad to say it, but how many people in the church lead on Sunday and follow on Monday? Actual leaders of the church, how many stop leading as soon as they walk out the doors of the church on Sunday? It's our responsibility. God has put it on us as people who are called to Him to lead, to be strong and courageous, to go before the people in front of us, empowered by Him, of course, to lead, to help people grow in the knowledge of the Lord. And in all of that, in our leading, we may be a better influence than the influence of the remnant of sin or the bad situation or whatever the case is that the people are living in. We may be that judge to bring about a little sense of peace out of chaos. And in bringing that peace into their chaos, they will know the peace of the Lord. We are image bearers. Our image, what we look like, should reflect that of God. And if we do that, you have a dark situation, or you have a dark room, and a person filled with light walks into it, the darkness is gone. Or at least the darkness is lighter and you can see through the darkness. So we have to let Christ's light shine through us into the darkness. And that's kind of what a judge did. They were a light in a dark time who led people back to the Lord, and who impressed upon other people who God is, reminded them of past victories, reminded them of God's goodness, reminded them that there is a God, the Lord Creator, the God of Israel. They had a God. Here it says more or less they didn't know they had a God, and so they followed the gods of other people. Gods aren't just images. Gods are ourself. What does culture push? You are the God of yourself. It never hit me until a few years ago. One of the makeup commercials is "Love the skin you're in." This culture pushes "Love the sin you're in," and we can't. We can't love the sin. If we truly want to be like God and lead others to be like God, we have to do like He did and hate the sin we're in. Hate the sin that others are in, and remembering not to judge the people, not to hate the people, but hate the sin that they are in and try to lead them out of that. We are to show them a better way. And if we can't do what we were called to do, preaching the gospel, reflecting Christ in people's lives, leading, guiding, directing as men, that's what we were initially put here to do, to rule over others, not in a dictatorship way, but to be that strong male influence to lead and guide and direct. So that being said, that is all. Hey, Roddy. That is all I got. You just came at the tail end of it. But maybe you can kind of pick. We're talking about Judges chapter 2, the Israelites and generations not knowing about their God, turning from the Lord since they didn't really know Him, and following false gods, the gods of the remnant of the people that Joshua did not drive out of Israel's inheritance of those places. So you still had Canaanites, you still had other people like that in these areas influencing, and that's when God appointed the first judge, or started appointing judges. So that's kind of the very stripped down version of what's going on. So, okay, yeah. So with conversation, we should be able to hopefully, you'll be able to pick up on some of it. So anyway, open conversation. What y'all got?